Welcome to our channel, all friends. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe my channel and press the bell icon to stay update for new videos. Thanks. Let's start new video. I had been sitting in the room for quite a while, waiting for my husband to come. Today I had to talk to him about something very important, but he was not even thinking of coming home. Now I was getting angry and also feeling annoyed because he was not even answering the phone. Only a week had passed since our wedding, and just after a week he had started showing his true colors. Angrily, I dialed my mother's number and complained to her about my husband because I had married this man with my mother's consent. And then suddenly there was a knock on the door. I quickly went and opened the door. In my husband's absence, I used to keep the door locked because my husband had told me to do so. My husband entered the room quickly and then immediately went to the washroom. I wanted to stop him and talk to him, but he didn't even bother to look at me. Seeing all this made me angry. I decided that now I won't talk to him at all. Instead, I'll stay upset with him. That's why I turned off the light and lay down on the bed, even though I wasn't feeling sleepy. My mind was stuck on my husband. After a little while, the door opened and my husband came out, but seeing his condition, I was shocked and worried. He was wearing my wedding lehenga at that time. Seeing this, I was quite shocked. How could he, being a man, wear women's clothes? That too, my wedding lehenga. What if I'd been deceived? What if I couldn't think beyond that. A strange shiver ran through me. In the dim light, I was observing my husband's actions. He seemed to be in a hurry. After that, he quickly did bridal makeup on his face. He kept glancing towards the bed again and again. Maybe he thought I was asleep. After that, he quickly went out of the room. As soon as he left the room, I too quickly followed him. I saw he was entering my brother-in-law's room, and then after that it became a routine. He would get ready every day and go into my brother-in-law's room. I didn't know what he did there. Thousands of questions were arising in my mind, but I had no answer to any of them. At first, I thought I should tell my mother about it, but then I stayed quiet, thinking, what if my husband becomes a laughingstock? On the other hand, another thing that was bothering me was that my husband had not come near me even once, and he never even talked to me about it. That was the thing that wasn't letting me breathe in peace. Why had he married me after all? That was the question I wanted to ask him. In fact, I had asked him about it many times, but he always told me that the right time hasn't come yet. When the right time comes, then he will answer that question. I regretted that moment when I emotionally promised my husband that I won't tell anyone about it. But now I felt that I would have to break that promise very soon. Life's problems were just increasing and increasing, and instead of finding solutions, I was getting more tangled in them. The next day when I woke up, I had a severe headache because I had been thinking about it all night and was also waiting for my husband to return. But when he didn't come back till 4, I too fell asleep. As soon as I sat at the breakfast table, the door of my brother-in-law's room opened. I saw my husband coming out of the room. I wanted to look behind him, but he immediately closed the door and came smiling toward me. At the moment, his smile was feeling like poison to me. In fact, he himself was feeling like poison to me. Who knows what all he was doing, what his activities were? Was he impotent? Was he intersex? Or was he among the people of Lot, who form relations with men instead of women? My heart was filled with pain, and my eyes with salty water. Arsalan, I had just taken my brother-in-law's name when my husband shut me up and harshly said that he did not want to talk about anything right now, so it was better that I didn't bother him and kept my mouth and ears shut. I hadn't expected this kind of behavior from him. Hearing his words brought tears to my eyes, but he didn't seem to care at all. He quickly heated up some bread for himself, ate it, and left for the office. While I sat there thinking, what was really going on? For a moment, I felt like going to my brother-in-law's room and checking. Maybe if I met him and talked, he might tell me something about it. In-law's room and checking. Maybe if I met him and talked, he might tell me something about it. But as soon as I went towards his room, I was faced with deep disappointment because the door was locked. Suddenly, my attention went to the house keys, which were lying in my own wardrobe. I quickly went to my room and started looking for them. After about an hour of effort, when I finally found the keys, just then there was a knock at the door. I went and opened it, and there stood my husband. He looked very disturbed. Seeing him back, I was shocked because I still had the keys in my hand. Suddenly, his eyes fell on my hands. No, he looked at me questioningly, and I quickly lowered my head. Even without meaning to, I had put him into doubt, and just like that, my secret was caught. He grabbed my arm tightly and twisted it. Then, scolding me, he said, "I've told you before. You don't need to get involved in this matter. Then why don't you listen to me? What's your problem?" At this point, I had also lost all my strength. I started shouting back at him, "I want to know why you are doing all this. There has to be a reason behind it, and I want to know that reason." "Fine, if you want to know the reason, then be ready at 12 midnight. I will tell you the reason at 12. But after that, whatever happens to you, I will not be responsible. Only and only you will be responsible. And then you will not tell anyone about this. You will not involve anyone in this secret." Hearing his words, I felt as if I had lost all sense. He was speaking in a way that made it feel like something very bad was going to happen at night, or some accident was about to take place. My heart was already starting to tremble. After saying what he had to say, he became silent and looked at my face as if he was asking, "Do you still want to know the secret?" I gathered my courage and told him, "Fine. I don't care what happens at night. I must know the reason at any cost." This time he dropped his head into both of his hands. He suddenly looked extremely worried. He made me sit beside him and, in a tone of explanation, started saying, "Look, right now is not the right time. I don't want to hurt you in any way. I don't want to cause you any pain. I love you, and I want you to always stay happy. You don't want to hurt me, but you're still hurting me," I said, while looking into his eyes. He soon understood my words and, avoiding eye contact, replied, "There's a reason behind this too, but I can't tell you that reason right now." I felt like banging my head on the wall. One thing was certain. I could no longer believe a word this man said. He had neither treated me as his wife nor shared any secrets with me as a friend. It was my right to find out what this man was really doing, and I was determined to do whatever it took to uncover the truth. I even felt a strange sense of relief that tonight he would take me to my brother-in-law's room. So I quickly started waiting for night to come, but time seemed to move at a snail's pace. On the other hand, if I mentioned Arsalan's name, my husband would almost pounce on me, as if I had committed a terrible sin. If he had such a problem with it, he shouldn't have married me in the first place, I thought to myself. I began to recall the time when he had eagerly come to my mother's house to ask for my hand. Back then, from his words and tone, it seemed like if my mother didn't give him my hand in marriage, he would give up his life. At that time, he had reassured my mother that he would never let me suffer any pain and that he would treat me like a queen. He also promised that my in-laws wouldn't have any responsibilities. He had one younger brother, but he was harmless, and he stayed confined to his room. Everyone at home had been happy and satisfied, and no one tried to question him further. My family had made a huge mistake, because now this same brother-in-law was causing me pain. Not only had he controlled my husband, but there was also some secret in that room that he had been hiding for the past week, a secret that I was desperately trying to uncover. That evening, I was watching TV, trying to pass the time, when my husband sat down next to me. He seemed very restless, though I didn't know why. However, his unease strangely brought me peace, because not long ago, I was the one who felt restless. But there was a difference between my unease and his. After a while, I heard his voice in a very serious tone. He said, "You have one last chance today. Whatever you want to say or find out, you have to do it today. After this, I will never talk to you about this topic again, and neither will you bring it up with me." Upon hearing his words, I smiled deeply and said, "After today, I'm sure there won't be any more chances, because from what you're saying and how scared you look, I don't think there will be anything left to discover." Hearing my response, tears filled his eyes, but he didn't say a word. He silently turned and left the house. In that moment, my heart turned to stone. His actions no longer affected me. I thought to myself that he was just putting on a drama to stop me, but I wasn't going to stop now. And so as night fell, I began getting ready before my husband came home. Today, I was becoming a bride again. But there was a big difference between that day and today. That day, I was so happy, but today, I was filled with fear. I had a strange feeling that something very bad was going to happen. There was one thing that troubled me. a strange feeling that was bothering me, and that was the fact that I wasn't dressing up for anyone else but my husband's brother. I didn't know what he would do to me or how he would treat me. These were the questions that kept me awake with anxiety. A little while later, when my husband entered the room, he was stunned. I had never seen him like this before. On my wedding day, I looked even prettier than I did today. Yet he had neither complimented me nor said a word to me. Instead, he had told me to sleep and left the room. At that time, I didn't know he had gone to my brother-in-law's room, so I laid down in bed mourning my fate. I could have told my mother about this, but I didn't. She had spread the story among the family that my husband loved me dearly, that he was madly in love with me, and that he had tried everything to win my hand. My family thought I was lucky to have such a loving husband. But no one knew the real story. It's true what they say. Unless you stand in someone else's shoes, you can't understand their story. This was exactly the situation with me, and my family was about to face the same fate. He had been standing there, staring at me for quite a while now, and I could feel something strange in the air. I'm telling you, there's still time. Stop now or you'll face a huge loss, and you'll never be able to look yourself in the eye again. I don't want any more distance between us. So trust me one last time, and I'll fix everything, he said, but I wasn't willing to listen to any of his words. I told him, I've waited enough, but I can't wait anymore. Take me to my brother's room. Reluctantly, he led me to my brother-in-law's room. As soon as I stood in front of the door, my phone rang. I looked at the call coming from home in the middle of the night and grew worried. I thought to myself, I hope everything is fine, but nothing was fine. The sudden news of my grandmother's passing hit me like a ton of bricks. I loved my grandmother dearly. My whole childhood and early youth had been spent with her. Now, receiving the news of her passing, I felt like the world was collapsing around me. I sat down and began crying uncontrollably. Seeing me cry, my husband grew concerned and asked if everything was okay. I told him about my grandmother's death. I quickly ran to my room, changed out of my jewelry and wedding dress, and put on simpler clothes. I had completely forgotten about the conversation with my husband that I had to either find out the truth or never speak of it again. But at that moment, nothing mattered to me more than my grandmother's situation. So, in half an hour, we covered a journey that would usually take an hour. My husband dropped me off there and went back home. Seeing his actions again, my heart ached. He seemed more concerned about his brother than my grandmother's death, and about me wearing the bridal dress to please his brother. I decided then and there that I would never live with him again, and I wouldn't go back home with him. I would tell my mother the whole truth. However, when I got home, I realized that my mother was already entangled in many problems. My brother had fallen in love with a girl, and because of her, he had been badly beaten. He was still not talking to anyone and was ready to die for this girl. My mother was devastated, crying constantly. She had taken on so much stress that it affected her health, and she passed away due to the strain. I tried to talk some sense into my brother, but he wouldn't listen to anything I said. At that point, I didn't feel it was right to tell my mother about the other matters I was dealing with, and I decided to be patient. I thought that if I had endured so much, I could bear a little more. I trusted that Allah would make things better for me. So after spending 2 days there, I returned home. When I arrived, I saw that my husband seemed content again. I tried to talk to him about my brother-in-law, but he flatly refused and reminded me that I only had one chance to ask about it. After that, I wasn't to bring it up again. Reluctantly, I stayed silent, but I had already made up my mind. I would find out the truth myself. I would figure out what was going on, how long it had been going on, and how long it would continue. The next day, I retrieved the keys again and quickly made my way to my brother-in-law's room. To my surprise, the door was already open. A wave of relief washed over me, and I rushed inside. But there was no one in the room. It was empty. No signs of anyone having been there. I checked the bathroom, but it was also empty. How could this be? If no one lived here, why did my husband come here every night? This new realization troubled me. Could my husband be crazy, or was he suffering from a mental disorder? Had he imagined his brother in his mind and convinced himself that his brother was real? After all, if his brother were real, he would have brought him to our wedding. My mind started racing again. I began to form my own theories. I decided that I would take him to a doctor and have him tested, hoping that the truth would come to light. To talk things over, I went to a friend's house. I told her everything in detail, and she reassured me, saying, "Don't worry, in just 2 days, I'll get you an appointment with a doctor." I felt somewhat relieved, though I was still anxious. If I said that I was unaware of the truth about my situation, there would be nothing wrong with that. On the other hand, my curiosity only continued to grow. Then one night, all my doubts, the stories I had imagined, and the thoughts I had made up were proven to be completely false. One night, I was resting in my room when my husband entered. He didn't seem well. He came up to me and spoke in a very humble tone. He said, "Today, please wear the bridal dress and go into my brother's room. I'm not feeling well." Hearing this, I quickly got up from the bed and prepared myself wearing the dress. I was afraid that he might change his mind. This was the moment I could either prove he was mentally ill or that his brother was real. And if his brother was real, why would he keep going to his room? As I entered the room, my eyes fell on a boy who was very sweet and innocent looking. His mental state didn't seem normal. He jumped in high upon seeing me and said, "The bride is here. The bride is here. I want to play with the bride." He quickly brought some toys and sat down to play with me. That's when I realized that his brother wasn't mentally sound. Suddenly, I felt as though someone was watching me. I turned around, and there stood my husband. He then explained to me that his brother had a mental illness, which caused him to behave in strange ways. Often at night, he would scream and become uncontrollable. That's why he had kept his brother locked in this room, fearing that he might harm me. His brother was now getting better, and the doctor had suggested that I wear the bridal dress and talk to him because, for his mental condition, this was the right treatment. His condition had been caused by an accident. He continued, "It was our cousin, Mashal. My brother was very close to her. She loved him like a younger brother. On the day of her wedding, she wore bridal clothes, and my brother was supposed to pick her up from the parlor and bring her to the wedding hall. But on the way, they had an accident, and the bride passed away. It wasn't my brother's fault. Another car hit theirs. Ever since then, my brother's mental state hasn't been the same. He roams around at night in confusion. When you dress up as a bride and visit him, he becomes happy. But sometimes he starts screaming because he remembers the accident. However, now he has calmed down a lot and doesn't scream as much. He stays sedated and sleeps with the help of medicine." Listening to my husband's words, tears welled up in my eyes. It really hurt me. It's true that some accidents change a person's life forever and leave a lasting mark on the mind. He also told me that the reason he had been avoiding me was because he felt like he was also suffering from mental stress, and he feared that he might go insane too. So he had kept his distance to first get better and return to normal. After that conversation, everything between me and my husband was fine. My brother-in-law's mental health also improved, and my husband said that the biggest credit for this improvement was mine. He said that I had brought him back to a normal life, while my husband's method had been wrong. He had confined his brother to just one room. And so we began living as a peaceful family again.